For about half a year, the ask was simple, and a lot of us kept making it. If there is footage of Charlie Kirk naming his wife to run Turning Point, then put it out, the whole recording, uncut. Candace Owens pressed them for it directly, on the record, but she was far from the only one. In June, Turning Point finally responded. Erika responded. Kolvet responded. The show responded. There was a great deal of responding. Here's the strange part. In the rooms where all of that responding happened, no one had even asked. They kept raising it all on their own, and every time they did, the story came out full of holes. I am not going to rehash the rounds my earlier investigation already took apart. They are in the playlist and they hold up. This is what is new since then. Take June 12th. Erika is doing a live Q&A for her Bible in 365 program with Pastor James Caddis. Right after venting about how she does not have to explain herself, she explains herself out of nowhere about the video. No one in that room had asked, and instead of answering the question being asked, she picks the one version she can wave off, that it's AI, a fake Charlie built from nothing. That one is fair to raise, and people raised it in good faith. Here she is answering it.
Love him so much, and even too, all this drama on the internet of people claiming that the video that I had in my YWLS intro is AI, and it's like, first of all, I would never, that's just sick to even think that someone would even make a fake AI version of your husband. But aside from that, like, full disclosure, obviously that video is not fake, but...
Not fake, but that is her summit intro she is vouching for, not necessarily the 4 seconds of Charlie spliced inside it.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
Which is the part anyone was arguing about. And not fake is not the same as not doctored, not edited, or cut out of context. We were asking about the cut, the source, and the audio, and she answered a different question. She picked up the one accusation she could knock down, and she left the rest on the floor. Here we are again addressing it in a completely different context, instead of answering it straight. It must matter a great deal to them that people believe Charlie wanted this boss babe situation for his wife. Why else keep volunteering it on her own Bible in 365 program, or release proof that has been cut up and edited beyond recognition as the intro to her summit speech? The audio of this line went public at MFest back in December, and my earlier investigation videos already pulled it apart. The short version is this. For months, Turning Point's line was that they do not release footage from private donor events. Then, on June 5th, they released footage from a private donor event as the montage that opened Erika's keynote at the Women's Leadership Summit. Kolvet, who is Charlie's executive producer and still runs the Charlie Kirk show, got on the show to say why they finally did it.
Well, it's something he told all of us. We all knew. We didn't talk about it because we thought Charlie was going to be with us for another 50 plus years. But like we all knew, the board knew, this was the plan. Whatever, he said it one time in front of a camera at a private event with donors in Aspen.
Hang on, he told all of you and it was the plan, but he also said it exactly once on camera. And you never talked about it. Being very generous, that is at least 2 different stories, if not 3.
So we figured we'd troll the trolls, and you get a little taste of it here.
He put 2 things on the record without meaning to. The first is that he said it once. It was one camera, one event, one time. So whatever you make of the footage, there is no library of Charlie saying this, and that single instance is the entire reason it gets the scrutiny it does. Apparently he also said it in secret, like constantly to literally everybody, but there's no recording of that. It was just this one recording. Okay, sure, we could read it that way. The second is that the reason they released it was not transparency. It was the dunk. They figured they would troll the trolls. That word comes back later. He also told you ahead of time exactly which complaint he was prepared to answer.
But then, so we knew that it was going to be like, oh, it's AI or it's fake or whatever this, because that's what they do. They always move the goalpost here. And that's why it's a sucker's game to even play this. But it was really fun to be able to troll the trolls, stuff it in their face, and then watch them predictably melt down when the evidence was shown.
So the plan was built around the prediction that people would say it's AI, and then a week later, Charlie's widow, who is now Kolvet's boss, went on her own Bible in 365 program and said the criticism is that people think it's AI. They are running the same script. You pick the most extreme version of the objection, the one you can roll your eyes at, and you answer that one. The AI question itself is fair, and people have raised it in good faith, including us, as a possibility. But by aiming at the most extreme version, a fully synthetic Charlie built from nothing, nobody on their side has to account for the cut or the staging or the audio itself. By Kolvet's own telling, this was not a careful release of evidence. It was stuffing it in people's faces for fun. He said all of that on the show right after they played the clip. He also took it to his own timeline, quote tweeting the release and going after the fact checkers, and this is the most he would commit to. The video is real. There, I just denied that. Charlie said this in the summer of 2025. What that sentence does not say is the whole point. He says the video is real, but he does not say the audio is real. And the audio is half the fight. And the claim that Charlie said this in the summer of 2025 stays true even if Charlie said it once, offhand, in a room that had nothing to do with naming a successor, or even as a joke. Most of his thread is a fight over a community note that placed the footage mistakenly at a 2023 event instead of Aspen, and my earlier video already sorted that one out, so I'm leaving it there. A real room and a real season do not make a real video, or for that matter, audio. He has not repeated the line that Charlie supposedly said. He has not shown it unedited, start to finish. He has not answered with a yes or a no, whether it was doctored. And the footage did not even go out under Turning Point's own name. They played it on the screens at the summit as Erika's walkout, but on Turning Point's own account that day, here's what they posted instead. An anniversary reel about 14 years, with nothing in it about a succession. The footage itself, the thing people had been demanding for months, went out somewhere else. Turning Point and at Mrs. Erika Kirk released the secret footage of Charlie Kirk choosing her to succeed him to kick off their annual Women's Summit through a Daily Mail reporter. If this clip settles everything, handing it to a friendly reporter instead of posting it on your own page is a strange way to settle it. Also, I couldn't find it on their YouTube. Erika's speech does not include it either. So, here is what was asked for, and here's what showed up. The ask was a clean, continuous recording. What showed up was a montage. Erika's voiceover runs straight into a 4-second clip of Charlie, cut so tightly that a transcription tool reads the two of them as a single speaker. And the trim is brutal. It ends on Charlie saying that she would do a great job, and that last word, job, is cut so close that it sounds like the middle of a longer sentence with no pause after it. The rule is to never attribute to Malice what you can explain with incompetence. So maybe they are bad at cutting audio and nothing more. But with everything else they keep doing around this clip, Malice cannot be ruled out. Tribute footage is cut around it and into it, and there's music over the whole thing. That is not the original. That is a trailer. And the people who made it told you the goal was to troll, not to prove, while still calling it evidence. If someone picks a thing up, cuts it, cleans it, scores it, shakes off the parts they don't like, and hands it to you saying, here's the evidence, the first question is, what was on the parts they shook off? Evidence you hand over whole. The moment you have to edit it before you show it, it stops being evidence. And we start getting into tampering with evidence territory. And 4 seconds is not the recording anyone asked for. Where's the rest of it? Where's the lead-in? Where's Charlie allegedly saying they have a great board and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out? Where's the part Erika herself has described, where Charlie allegedly brings up Apple and Macintosh, and a company being founder-led or vision-led? My earlier investigation videos went through all of that, put the whole thing out, start to finish, in one continuous take. They kept the few seconds where he allegedly hands the whole organization to one person and cut everything around it. We have a great board and they will figure it out, and then I appoint my wife. The board as the plan, and a single name as the plan, in the same alleged breath. Meanwhile, one person refused to let it be anything but a yes or no question.
So I will say definitively that I believe that this clip is doctored. But rather than to speculate, I decided, let's just contact Turning Point USA with really just 2 easy questions. Then I kind of wanted a confirmation because I've realized Turning Point themselves never claimed that the footage was not doctored. They never made that claim. And that's important. I want them to say whether or not this was doctored. Here's what I wrote to them, an email. I wrote, hope you're well. We're seeking comment on 2 questions. Deadline is tomorrow by 4 p.m. I meant to say on a confirmation on the 3rd, but I only said comment on 2 questions. There was a video circulating online from your WLS event during which Charlie Kirk seemingly appoints Erika to run Turning Point USA in his absence. Can you confirm that the video shared is entirely authentic? It has not been doctored in any way. A simple yes or no will suffice. In the video, is the video shared within its proper context, meaning Charlie was not speaking in jest? And I can tell you right now, they are still refusing to answer a very important question. Is it doctored, yes or no? Little detail. No person who works for Turning Point USA has answered this question. Now, one of the benefits of being sued all the time is you learn a little bit about legal loopholes. I'm educated enough to know that if they lie about this, there could be real, costly legal ramifications.
The gap between the two sides is the whole story. One side has a CEO saying it is obviously not fake. CEO and chair, ooh. An executive producer who played the clip on the Charlie Kirk show as proof, and a release strategy whose stated purpose was to troll. The other side asks the question you can answer in one word, in writing. Has this footage been edited or doctored, yes or no? Kolvet will type, the video is real, into a quote tweet all day long. The one-word version, the one that leaves a paper trail, is the one nobody at Turning Point has put their name to. Once you have the move, which is to narrow the criticism down to its most extreme form, and then beat that, it shows up everywhere she talks. This is the same Q&A, only a few minutes earlier. She is explaining why she handled things the way she did after what happened to Charlie.
When he was murdered, I never went on shows to talk about myself at all, actually. And that's why really everyone wrote my story before I could even tell the correct version.
She says it was never about herself. The most generous reading is that she means the organization appearances, the ones that were already on his calendar. That November, she sat down with Megyn Kelly for an hour, and a good deal of that hour was about, well, her.
I'm not afraid of being a CEO because I saw my mom do that. The only thing that I fear, to be fully transparent with you, is being out of the alignment of God's will, because I feel like that is a very dangerous position to be in. And so for me, growing up, when I was in New York, it was one of those moments where I really trusted God. That's where I needed to be. I prayed on it at first because originally I was living in LA. And I said, Lord, if this is where you need me to be, make it so clear. Bought a one-way ticket to New York, 1 suitcase. My mom was like, what are you going to do when you're there? I was like, I'll figure it out once I get there. I just know that's where the Lord needs me.
Megyn's own setup was that the audience wanted to know more about her. She covered Miss Arizona, the one-way ticket to New York, her mother, and her childhood. That is not honoring a dead man's media obligations. That is a profile. She does the same thing with Brian Kilmeade.
I have an amazing family. My mother's the blessing of all. My father was amazing as well. Although my parents were divorced when I was 5, I was very, very close also to my grandparents.
The broken home, the grandparents, and the tomboy who played basketball.
And I was the last kid to get picked up from the Boys and Girls Club every single day. And the poor counselor, or whatever you want to call him, that had to stand with me waiting for my mom to pick me up every day. I loved sports. I loved basketball so much. It was such a good escape for me as a child.
The line about never talking about herself only survives if you have somehow missed her talking about herself, which she does often and at length. The biggest one is in the June Bible in 365 Q&A. She is grateful that Charlie set her up so well to take over.
I'm so grateful that Charlie included me in everything, because when all of this happened and the board made their decision and all that, there was no learning curve. I wasn't sitting in a meeting being like, what's a chapter? What's the National Field Program? Like, who runs our events? Like, what is an event? I didn't have to answer. I knew all of that.
Because you built it together.
I could walk into a room and say people hi by their first name. Like, I didn't have to learn the ins and outs of everything.
There was no learning curve on her telling. If she walked in already running the place, then the people closest to Charlie never got the memo. Here's how her own husband described her job from his own stage at the Young Women's Summit while he was still alive and while it was still the Young Women's Summit.
And it's amazing. She is a incredible mom and working on Bible in 365 and Proclaim Streetwear, and then she gives an amazing address like that. And so So many friends here. You know, this is our 10th annual Young Women's Leadership Summit. We've been doing this for 10 years.
That is the resume her own husband gave her from his own stage. The National Field Program she said she already had down a minute ago, the chapters, who runs the events, none of that is on it. And it's not only him, it's the men who really ran the place talking afterwards while the story was being set.
He would just say, like, oh, it'll be fine. Erika will take over for me. That is what he said over and over. I saw them interact all the time, almost on a daily basis. Even when he was traveling, he was calling her all the time. He was talking to her all the time. How much that relationship, I didn't know Erika as well prior to Charlie's death, but especially in the wake of it, I saw how much everything he'd done meant to her.
And she was just so, but content to be in the background and be the mom. And Charlie told us multiple times, you know, if anything happens to me, you know, Erika's going to be in charge. Said that to us on the staff, said it to his board. So it wasn't a secret when Charlie was killed what was going to happen next. We all knew that he had been very clear about that.
The show's own producer says he did not know her well before. The executive producer says she was content in the background, being the mom. Tyler Bowyer, who is the longest tenured person in the building, put it plainer still.
It's not like she was building a career to try to become CEO of Turning Point. This is something that has fallen on her shoulders.
Oops, I slipped and fell, and this CEO position, like a piano, came out of nowhere and fell on my head. Oopsie. What? So the woman with no learning curve, the one who walks into any room and greets everybody by first name, is the same woman her own inner circle describes as the background mom with the Bible app. Both of those cannot be the record. One of them is the version she gave on her own Bible in 365 program, and it is the one with nobody behind it. There is one last thing, and it is a small one, but it stuck with me. It's about the name Jesus and how often she says it. The whole June appearance was a live Q&A on her Bible in 365 program. The Read the Bible in a Year one. Across about 45 minutes of her own talking, here is every time Erika Kirk says the name Jesus in her own words, and not while reading somebody else's question off the screen, of course.
But those that really understand and know God and Christ, like, they get it.
That's it. That's the entire count. She says it one time, and even then it's God and Christ. 2 items in the list again. If you know, you know. We covered this in that last Jesus video. And not the name Jesus on its own. Across that whole Q&A, 45 minutes of her own talking, she does not say it once by herself. The pastor sitting on the opposite side of the screen says the name 26 times in the same exact sitting. Put all of it together and it is one habit. The criticism is that the footage was edited and the source was never shown. And the answer is, well, it's not AI. The criticism is that she put herself at the center, and the answer is, she never talks about herself. What are you talking about? The thing her own circle cannot back up is whether Charlie wanted her to do this. And the answer is that there was no learning curve, and she knew everything. Every single time we ask one question and they answer a different one. I can't possibly know what's in her head. I'm saying the answers don't fit the questions. There is one word that runs underneath every one of those appearances, and the word is honoring. She's honoring her husband. Turning Point is honoring his mission. The release was about honoring him. Turning Point and Erika especially say it constantly. Is that really what is happening? Video is coming soon on that as well. Subscribe and you'll catch it.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.